Palpatine's return after the events of Return of the Jedi is probably one of the most controversial and divisive things in all of Star Wars. Even though it also happened in the expanded universe in the Dark Empire comics, some fans really take issue with him also being resurrected in canon in The Rise of Skywalker. Although I'm not really sure if you can call it a resurrection since he didn't actually ever die. Anyway, the fans that dislike his return would argue that it cheapens and diminishes not only Anakin's turn back to the light side and him sacrificing his life to save Luke, but that it diminishes Anakin's entire story as the Chosen One in the first 6 movies. Anakin was supposed to restore balance to the Force and destroy the Sith, and if Palpatine never died, then that means that Anakin failed. But does it really? I'll give my take on all of that at the end of this video. What I'd like to focus on is what Palpatine thought of Anakin betraying him, because there's actually some really interesting lore available to us in the canon book, Secrets of the Sith. The book is written by Palpatine, so this lore comes from his perspective while he was writing in his journal and different documents on Exegol. This reveals why he canonically thought that Anakin's death was completely pointless. So this comes from the section of the book where Palpatine writes about Anakin Skywalker. None in the galaxy has ever proved my equal in the power of the dark side, but in matters of the Force, there is one bloodline that cannot be ignored, the Skywalkers. My most powerful apprentice, Darth Vader, was born a Skywalker. Though his darkness was feared across the galaxy, there remained a loathsome spark of light buried within him that he failed to smother. Young Anakin Skywalker began life as nothing more than a slave on the desert world of Tatooine, but the boy was blessed with a power unrivaled by any except my own. Anakin was believed by the Jedi to be a Vergence, an entity surrounded by a rare concentration of Force energy. They even convinced themselves that the child was the Chosen One, described in an ancient Jedi prophecy. So certain were they that Anakin would bring balance to the Force, they failed to consider what that might truly mean. As Anakin's powers intensified, so did his emotions. He wanted more than his feckless order could offer him. I planted seeds of doubt in his mind about the Jedi and their dogma, but it was not doubt that would lead young Skywalker to abandon the Jedi path. It was love and the fear of losing it. Though romantic entanglements were long forsaken by the Jedi, Anakin entered a forbidden union with a senator from Naboo named Padme Amidala. Unsettling premonitions of his pregnant wife's demise troubled the boy. He was willing to do anything to prevent that future from unfolding, and I was there to offer him a solution. Revealing my true nature to young Skywalker, I presented the dark side as the only path to ensuring his beloved's survival. He submitted himself to me, a Jedi no longer, and rose as my new Sith apprentice, Darth Vader. At my command, he turned against the Jedi Order. He massacred his brethren at their own temple, giving no quarter. He had returned balance to the Force indeed, by drowning out the light and freeing the darkness. But Lord Vader would have no time to revel in his triumph. Struck down by his former Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar, he was left burned and mutilated. Though I managed to salvage his broken body and sustain his life, he would soon come to wish that I had not. Upon my command, Vader's broken frame was remade, fitted with cybernetic parts and sheathed in an obsidian armor. He re-emerged as a towering symbol of the Galactic Empire's might. His rage grew, fueled by the loss of Padme Amidala, a death that I convinced Lord Vader was caused by his own hand. The grief drove him deeper into darkness, and further under my control. But Lord Vader's tragic past would not stay dead. He sought the arcane secrets that might reunite him with his lost love. However, after many failures, he returned his focus to the Empire, cutting a swath of destruction across the galaxy in my name. All who rose to challenge my disciple fell by his crimson blade, until another ghost from his past returned to haunt him. Years later, Lord Vader found himself once again locked in combat with Obi-Wan Kenobi. My apprentice redeemed his past failure and struck down his former master. But he soon discovered that Kenobi had taken on a new apprentice, Luke Skywalker, a young boy strong in the Force whom Vader would soon learn was his own son. Lord Vader had believed his child had died with Padme. It was the fear, pain, and suffering stemming from that loss that powered him for so long. But now a different emotion began to surface within him, one he had not experienced in ages: love. His fear of losing his wife had pushed him toward the dark side. To save his son, he would choose a different path. Lord Vader turned against the darkness and betrayed his true master. Anakin Skywalker was reborn, just in time to die, his pathetic display costing him his own life. And all for nothing. Vader was gone, but the Sith would return. The rebel fools believed I could be killed, that the ways of the Sith would die along with me. So I let them cling to hope, like the pathetic creatures they are, desperately grasping for the light just beyond their reach. But darkness is eternal. Unlike the light, it cannot be extinguished. It will always find a way to rise again, and I, Darth Sidious, have risen with it. My old empire crumbled, undone by the weakness and betrayal of those beneath me. Yet those who worshipped the Sith, who exalted the dark side of the Force, lived on. In the shadows of the unknown regions, they grew ever stronger. In my name, they prepared to strike back, to vanquish those who sought to end my reign, to unleash my righteous vengeance. As the Empire perished, I was born again, my consciousness transferred into a new body on Exegol. Alas, even after years of experimentation, the cloning techniques employed by my acolytes of the Sith Eternal were inadequate. They could not create a vessel capable of containing my unfathomable power. Though my soul remained complete, the flesh designed to house it began to fail. To continue my plans for total galactic domination, I would need a form worthy of my might. It was clear that this defective mortal shell would not be enough. My new body's deformities were severe. Unable to leave Exegol, I would have to spread my influence across the galaxy through less direct means. So I really enjoyed reading that from Palpatine's perspective in first person, and I really like that this book, Secrets of the Sith, is supposed to be written by him, and it's him going over all the powers of the dark side and the history of the Sith and stuff like that. And I like how he talks about how he felt about Anakin betraying him and killing him and whether it really meant anything or not. And yes, that's the big debate in the fandom over the past few years since The Rise of Skywalker came out. In my opinion, I don't like Palpatine returning at all. In Legends or canon, I think it's weird. I think that people give Dark Empire a pass because it was published before Episode 1 came out, so before George even introduced the prophecy of the Chosen One. But even so, without the Chosen One prophecy, in Return of the Jedi, when Vader is redeemed and he betrays Palpatine and saves Luke, that's his sacrifice to save Luke. It doesn't even have to be about fulfilling a prophecy or bringing balance to the Force or destroying the Sith necessarily in the way that the Chosen One prophecy works. It can also just be about him saving Luke and turning his back on the dark side. So my point is that even if we take away the Chosen One prophecy, there's still a very deep part of Anakin's sacrifice there without there being a prophecy like that. And I would say that, yeah, part of me does think that Palpatine coming back does kind of diminish that moment in Return of the Jedi. But in terms of the Chosen One prophecy in general and Anakin bringing balance to the Force and destroying the Sith and whether he fulfilled the prophecy or not, I'm honestly kind of indifferent at this point. You know, obviously I respect George's vision. I love George. He made Star Wars. George said that Anakin was the Chosen One. He did destroy the Sith, meaning the Emperor and himself in Return of the Jedi, and that's that. But George also sold Lucasfilm, and, you know, even when he had Lucasfilm, they published Dark Empire in the Expanded Universe, and now afterwards they've done the sequel trilogy where Palpatine comes back. And I think that the Chosen One prophecy was just a weird addition to throw into the saga in the prequels. I think Anakin's entire story from start to finish, episodes 1 through 6, without the Chosen One prophecy, would still be super meaningful because Star Wars is the story of the Skywalker family, and it's about generations and fathers and sons, and the story of this family going through like a soap opera tragedy. And Anakin didn't need to be some sort of messiah like Paul Atreides figure to have that extra weight to his story, if you know what I mean. Like, I just think that the Chosen One prophecy was really unnecessary for them to for George to throw in there. So when it comes to Palpatine returning, I'm not saying, oh, it diminishes the Chosen One prophecy, because I'm not really thinking about the Chosen One prophecy. I'm thinking about just Anakin's actions and his sacrifice. The Chosen One prophecy should not be thought of as like law, because yes, the prophecy says that Anakin would destroy the Sith and restore balance to the Force. And let's say that the balance was never going to be permanent, because obviously the Sith are just a religion, they're an order. So anyone at any time can just say, oh, I'm believing in the Sith religion, I'm gonna start a new Sith order, my name is Darth blah blah blah, and then the Sith are back. Even without Palpatine, the Sith came back in Legends with like Darth Krayt and stuff. So I think the Chosen One prophecy and then saying, oh, Anakin restored balance to the Force and destroyed the Sith, that would just like limit storytelling set after Return of the Jedi, because, oh, there can never be any Sith again, otherwise it diminishes Anakin's entire story. No, you can say Anakin destroyed Palpatine even though he didn't die. Anakin restored balance to the Force in Return of the Jedi. The balance just wasn't permanent. Even in The Last Jedi, in the movie and in the novelization, Luke tells Rey that for many years there was balance in the Force. And then in the novelization, he goes a little in depth and says that the Force went out of balance when he took Ben Solo as his Padawan. So that means that there was balance in the Force for like 20 years or something, whenever Ben Solo became a Jedi. So yeah, I guess it's really up to you if you want to say that Palpatine coming back diminishes Anakin's story. I personally would say yes, I do think it diminishes that moment in Return of the Jedi. I don't know if it diminishes Anakin's entire story, I just think it's dumb. Like, I think it's stupid, but it happened in both Legends and Canon, so that's just something that you have to accept in both continuities. Regardless of the Chosen One prophecy, even Palpatine coming back in Dark Empire before the prequels came out, that still diminishes Anakin's death in Return of the Jedi, just like from a weight perspective, because that means that Anakin did that and Palpatine didn't really die. But also, you know, I don't think it's something that like really diminishes it at all. I don't know. It's dumb, but I don't think like it really destroys the first 6 movies like some people like to say. I just think it's stupid, and it's a weird choice to make. Even if Palpatine stayed dead, maybe the Sith could have come back either way like they did in Legends, so I don't think it's really worth being upset about. Even if George made his sequels, his plan was to have Darth Maul and Darth Talon be the villains, so the fact that they have the Darth title means that they're Sith Lords, so George was going to have the Sith come back too. Even if it's not Palpatine, the Sith would always come back. So I think the problem is that it's specifically Palpatine, because the whole point is that Anakin comes back to the light side, kills Palpatine, and redeems himself to save Luke, and that's without even bringing up the Chosen One prophecy. So that's really how I feel about it. I hope the points I made were clear and you kind of get where I'm coming from, but thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and as always, may the Force be with you.